Every day, whether we know it or not, there's a good chance that sugar has found its way into our diets. It can be as obvious as a can of Coke, which contains about 10 teaspoons of sugar, or my supposedly natural peanut butter that surprisingly contains 3 grams of sugar. Now, whether obvious or camouflage, sugar has invaded our foods and is leaving a wake of destruction that is destroying our bodies. Today, I want to explain where we take in so much sugar, what companies are responsible for the increase in sugar, what negative effects these consequences have on our bodies, and how to decrease our sugar intake. Now, where do we get so much sugar? Unfortunately, sugar is in almost everything we eat, but there is a difference between natural sugar and added sugar. Natural sugar is broken down into glucose. We need it to survive, and it's typically found in naturally sweet foods like fruit. This sugar is fine when it's ingested into small doses, and also when it's consumed with other natural, essential nutrients like fats, vitamins, or minerals. When we add artificial sugar to our bodies don't have a use for this added sugar. This is broken down into fructose, causing our liver to have to store the added sugar as fat. Now, there are many reasons that sugar is in our foods. One is taste, which is pretty obvious. We love things that are sweet, and it makes things that are less appetizing more edible. Another is color and flavor, which creates the popular look and taste found in things like chocolate, coffee, and other baked goods. Fermenting certain foods like beer, yogurt, and even bitter things like vinegar need sugar in their creation process to taste like they do. Finally, sugar helps preserve foods and stop them from taking in water, which reduces their shelf life. Now, it's often hard to see if sugar is in our foods because it's been masked by different names and places. There are roughly 56 different names for sugar, including high fructose corn syrup, agave nectar, dextrose, molasses, and many other things. Sugar has also found its way into common items in the store. It may be items that we expect to be healthy, like juice or granola bars, have large amounts of sugar. Cereal, like Wheaties, that promotes whole grains, also contains sugar. They mask the bad qualities with the healthy slogan of Breakfast of Champions. It's ridiculous how much sugar is in our bodies, and this is due to the large food companies being more interested in making a profit than focusing on human health. Food companies' loyalties are tied strongest to their shareholders in making as much money as possible. They prey on the consumer by making the most longest lasting, the most convenient, and the least expensive food. Now, ultimately, it's still about the choices that we as a consumer make, but it's directly related to the choices that companies make. And when food companies choose to be less responsible, to increase sales, without considering the long-term health implications of their formulating and marketing decisions, it makes sense. It makes it much more harder for consumers to do the right thing. Now, a scary example of how powerful the soda industry came in 2015, when they manipulated scientific studies to hide their nutritional facts. Now, for decades, most of Big Soda's dealings have gone unseen by the public. They spend millions to influence science, drive public policy, and affect legislation. In August 2015, the New York Times revealed that Coca-Cola funded the Global Energy Balance Network, the GEBN, a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting the idea that obesity epidemic was related to the lack of exercise, not poor nutrition. Now, at the beginning of November, the University of Colorado School of Medicine announced that it would return a $1 million gift from Coca-Cola. The money was intended to fund GEBN science. At the end of the same month, the Associated Press obtained emails sent by Coca-Cola's chief health and science official Rona Applebaum, and GEBN President James Hill, a professor at the University of Colorado. The email showed that Coca-Cola influencing the group from the beginning. A few days after the news broke, Applebaum retired and GEBN ceased operations. Now, why would companies spend millions of dollars influencing studies just so consumers will buy their products? Because of the negative effects that they have on our bodies. Now, for starters, sugar has no essential nutrients. It contains large amounts of calories with no value, and they're labeled as empty calories. It's also highly addictive. Taking in sugar releases dopamine to the reward center in our brains, similar to how drugs do. Sugar releases a massive amount of dopamine, much more than we'd ever be exposed to from foods that are found in nature. This creates an increased desire to fulfill this need for the high. Now, sugar also leads to serious health problems. Increased intake of sugar overloads the liver, and it forces it to transform this additional energy into fat. This fat is released as cholesterol into our bodies. But some of the fat remains lodged in the liver, which can lead to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is most often caused by those that have a large amount of sugar intake. One of the most common diseases that we all know of is diabetes. Increased sugar intake is highly toxic and affects the insulin levels of our bodies. Insulin regulates our blood sugar, but high levels of fructose in the body make it resistant to this normal function. This leads to a number of diseases that include metabolic syndrome, obesity, heart disease, and especially type 2 diabetes. Fluctuating insulin levels have even been linked to cancer. Now finally, sugar is the leading contributor to obesity in both children and adults. The increased amount of sugar in the body transforms into fat, and the desire to have more sugar has boosted the obesity rates through the roof. Since 1991, adult obesity has increased 60% with direct relation to sugary drinks. The World Health Organization recommends a daily regimen of our energy consumption from sugar should be about 5%, which is roughly 7 teaspoons. The current levels are triple that, at 15%, and the WHO estimates that there is 1.9 billion overweight adults in the world, and 600 million of those are obese. This equates to 13% of the global adult population. Now, if recent trends continue, it's estimated that 2.16 billion individuals will be classified as overweight, and 1.12 billion will be obese by 2030. Now that we know the facts, how do we decrease our sugar intake? It all starts with being aware of what you're eating. Read the labels on your food. Look for how much sugar is in it and if there are any other forms of sugar. Next, begin to wean sugar out of your diet. Because we're so used to sugar being in everything we eat, start gradually removing sugar, different types of it especially. This process won't be easy, I'll tell you. It's like kicking a drug habit, but your body will feel so much better. We were never meant to have this much sugar, and the fastest way to lose weight is to cut it all out. Learn to replace sugar with foods that will help boost our productivity, like healthy fats, protein, and fiber. Healthy fats will keep us full for longer and reduce our desire for sugar. Since we were kids, we've been told that too much sugar is bad for us, and it's time for us to take this notion to heart. Make an investment in your own health, since you only have one life. And remember to vote with your wallets. Do your best to not support companies that look for financial gain at the expense of your health. We're worth more than that. Thank you very much.